This is Liam Hendricks, and you're watching Crosstown Crosstalk on the Barroom Network.
Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Every summer in Chicago, the sunshine spotlights the city's spectacular skyline. Its luxurious lakeshore, marvelous monuments, and the over 200 neighborhoods in the city. And it also brings to light two of the greatest sports franchises in the world. On the north side, it's the Cubs. On the south side, it's the White Sox. This is Crosstown Crosstalk.
Hello and welcome to another very exciting edition of Crosstown Crosstalk presented by the Barroom Network. My name is Vinnie Parisi. I'm pretty angry at the White Sox right now. Not going to lie, guys. This team stinks. I don't know how long they're going to stink, but, got plenty of room to improve with this team and get things going in the right direction. But I'm going to tell you guys a little story. I want to say it was last Wednesday. The Boston Red Sox were in town to take on the Chicago White Sox at Guaranteed Rate Field. Lucas Giolito was on the mound. Jake Berger hit a 3-run blast to give the White Sox the lead. Everyone's feeling good on a Wednesday night. All of a sudden, I'm scrolling Twitter.com, sitting from my seat in between innings in section 155. Shout out Joe Mandel. And I see a sign, okay? There's this sign that says, "Bring back Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays." And I started thinking, I remember Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays. That's where the 999 challenge from friend of the program, White Sox Dave Williams, came in. Joey Parisi successfully did it, not to brag on his behalf. It was just a really good way to satisfy your tummy. Dollar hot dogs. You could eat 10 hot dogs for the price of like 2.5, 1.5, on a normal day. It was awesome. And so the sign, it said, "Bring back Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays at the Dolly Parton podcast." And I was like, I have to meet this guy. Okay. I need to meet him right now. Sent him a DM, worked it all out, had a chance to meet him. And of course, I don't just stop at meeting you and taking a picture with you. I want to bring you on the show. And of course, now is the perfect time to welcome on Brandon Brogdon of the Dolly Parton podcast. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Vinny. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Okay. So, Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays. Whose idea was it for the sign, and why?
The sign idea was actually the guy I went with. That was his idea. I was just like, hey, I got free tickets for my work. I was like, just come with me. But we're protesting full price hot dogs. He's like, oh, should I make a sign? I was like, wow, it's such a great idea. And the sign obviously was a huge hit. I wish I had it with me. It's at our podcast studio right now, but I wish I had it with me.
That's hilarious. So you said it was his idea, but then, you guys as a podcast are kind of anti full price hot dogs on the great day of Wednesday.
Yep.
What does Dollar Hot Dog Wednesday mean to you? Why is it so special to you to think about eating a cheaper dog on particular the day of Wednesday?
The fans, we've endured so much. We've been promised so much from this team, and it's been such a letdown. And, we were getting, when they sucked pre-COVID, we were getting Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays every year, and I just think it's time to bring it back. A couple weeks ago, I tweeted at them. I said, I'm ready to go on a hunger strike until this happens, and it's spiraled out of control, and now I'm the hot dog revolutionist.
You're doing great work. You're the man of the people. We all appreciate a good hot dog. We all appreciate a good hot dog on the cheap. It makes it taste a little bit better. Your sign made it on television. What's your reaction to that?
Our sign made it on a Northeastern sports network, only in Boston, not in Chicago. Or at least if it did make it in Chicago, I didn't see it. I think it's conspiracy, though, because the fan cam came to our section, and he was a couple rows back from me in about the third inning, and he saw my sign, and he liked it. He laughed. His little producer laughed. And then around the sixth inning, I went and did some laps on the concourse because I had to keep the crowd into it. And the people I was sitting next to, they're like, oh, the fan cam came over here. I was like, oh, that's so messed up. They saw us leave and came over there on purpose. But yeah, Chicago, Jerry doesn't want the dollar dogs back. Jerry doesn't care about the fans.
That's sad. You would think they probably make money too if they do dollar
Oh.
hot dog Wednesdays, because I'm
Oh,
spending more on hot dogs when they're $1 than I probably would if they weren't $1. Do you agree with this statement?
I agree with that. The last Dollar Dog Wednesday I went to, I got 12 hot dogs right off the bat.
And nobody's spending $12 on like 2 hot dogs otherwise. What are they
Exactly.
without the dollar? Do you know offhand? What are they, like $6.50?
I saw on the vendors when they're walking around, they're $7.50. Which on a Thursday game, I will pay that price. But on a Wednesday, we deserve the dollar dogs.
Yep, it's hump day. You need a dollar dog. What's your reaction to a man with a surname Burger getting the win on the dollar hot dog Wednesday protest?
That's actually perfect because Jake Berger is the player I want behind this movement. If there's any player on that roster, I want Jake Berger to do it. And like they lost by 14 the day before, they lost by 15 the day after. It's just the sign brings the luck.
Okay, well, why aren't you in Toronto then?
It's a home game thing, you know. Toronto actually has dollar dogs every Tuesday, which I didn't know that until somebody tweeted that at us yesterday, or on Tuesday, I mean.
I knew Canadians were nice. I knew it.
Yeah, but I will be at the Dodgers game next Wednesday in Chicago. I'm gonna be at every home Wednesday game for the rest of the year.
All right. So make sure you go find Brandon and take a picture with him, like me, and try to stand on your tippy toes when you stand next to these guys. We'll get to that in a minute. What was your weirdest interaction involving the sign? Did anybody come up to you and you were like, "You're a weirdo, but I'll take a sign with you"? Am I that guy, or was someone weirder than me?
No, I wouldn't say I had any weird interactions. I did have this one dude keep telling me, no, it was on a Thursday. I'm like, no, dude, you're dumb. And I passed him maybe 4 times, and he said it every time I went past him. He was like, oh, it's on a Thursday. And I did get a couple of people hating on me, telling me to shut up, like, go sit down and whatnot. Like, it was unnecessary. But a majority of the Sox fan loved the sign, even the workers.
All right, well, we have a message for those people, okay? First of all, Thursday, if it's a Thursday night game, you have the benefit of like tomorrow being Friday, like you're 5 hours away from Friday. That's great. That you don't need a dollar hot dog to make up from the sins of having 2 full work days ahead of you, even though you have 3 behind you, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the day. So Wednesday is just literally the perfect day for a dollar hot dog Wednesday. So what's your overall message to the people in regards to, okay, Guaranteed Rate Field has this outstanding food. They're known for just being revolutionary in the baseball field food game, but the hot dogs are pretty simple. I mean, you still to this day, even after all the great food Guaranteed Rate Field has, you appreciate just the simple Sandlot hot dog.
There is nothing better than having a dog sitting in your seat and just watching the game. That's classic. That's classic America right there. You know?
Yeah. What's your favorite hot dog place besides the stadium?
Ooh, favorite hot dog place? I don't know, actually. I don't have a lot of hot dog places. I'm not from Chicago. I'm from Hammond, Indiana.
Cool.
But that 35th Street hot dogs right by the stadium, I go there a lot.
Oh, yeah. That's popular on this network. We got a lot of guys and girls on this network that appreciate that place a lot. We had Alyssa Bergamini on maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she had never had it. So we're still waiting for her. If you ever run into her at the game, make sure you tell her to get some 35th hots. So I'm going to get to the real elephant in the room here. We saw the picture that we took together. Not a great look for me. Are you tall or am I short?
I'm 6'2", so I think I'm just tall. You're not short, man. You were average height, I think. You're like 5'10", right?
I think I'm like 5'9", something 5'8", something along those lines.
You got to round up after 5.
All right. Well, you need a short guy on your podcast. I don't know if you do. I haven't seen everybody on your podcast.
Actually, we do. Joey's kind of short. Joey's like 5'6", so you'll beat him there.
Okay. Hopefully. We'll see. I haven't been to the doctor and gotten measured in a while. I might be, hyping myself up a little bit. So you kind of paired together this whole dollar hot dog thing with DFAing Dallas Keuchel. You had 2 things on your checklist: DFAing Dallas Keuchel and Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays coming back to Guaranteed Rate Field. What was your actual non-joking, completely serious reaction to the White Sox actually DFAing Dallas Keuchel?
I was kind of in shock because I tweeted at them about that a week earlier, and I'm taking personal responsibility for that happening. I wasn't paying attention. The podcast texted me. It was like, oh, the White Sox really DFA'd Keuchel. Like, you're responsible for this. I actually felt really cool. I'm not even gonna lie.
There you go. Like I said, you're a man of the people, and you do everything that is needed for the team. Hopefully, the other thing on your checklist is able to come to fruition. So far, this 2020 season, the White Sox have actually been kind of a disappointment. Do you have any reactions or takeaways from that? Like, what does Brandon think is the reason for this? Is there anything you would change? What do you make of Tony La Russa with the lineups? I mean, I'm looking for like a full-blown analysis of the 2022 White Sox here.
I'm very disappointed. They've been very underwhelming. The pitching has been completely disastrous. The bullpen, they're really mission crochet, that's for sure. I remember when they signed La Russa last year, I was very skeptical about it back then. But then they had a good year, so I'm like, maybe he's the guy. But I don't know now. Why are you already in the Hall of Fame and coming back to coach? I didn't really get that. I think they have to train Moncada too. I don't think he's all that. He's a great defensive player. He gets on base, but other than that, he doesn't really produce. They need to get Jake Berger in the lineup every single day. I'm not a huge fan of Andrew Vaughn, but he is killing it this year. I gotta say, he's really turned my opinion on him. He just didn't look like a baseball player, I guess. It kind of looks like me a little bit. And yeah, the White Sox have just been a huge disappointment. We have beat the Cubs though, so that is a great thing though. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's your favorite White Sox player? You said you don't like Andrew Vaughn very much. I hope he changes your opinion because he's been absolutely raking so far this year.
He has been raking.
But who is your favorite player? Is it Berger, or they don't have a guy named Hot Dog? So
it's quickly becoming Berger, but it's TA, of course. Hard not to be a fan of TA.
Very good. I like hearing that. So you have this thing. It's called the Dolly Parton podcast. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your show and get people some information on you and where they can find you and all that. First question, I think it's the one that everyone will wonder immediately being introduced to you and your work. Why is it called the Dolly Parton podcast?
We were brainstorming ideas around the Super Bowl time, and she just popped on the TV. It was like, oh, let's call it the Dolly Parton podcast. And like, it just rolls off the tongue. Everybody loved it, And if she sues us and we get better name recognition from that, that'd be even greater too.
Yeah. That's outstanding. I'll send her your stuff.
Awesome.
I don't have access to Dolly Parton. I wish I did. So it sounds to me like the name of your show that's named after an old school female actress was actually sent to you by the football gods. Am I correct in assuming this?
That's correct. 1,000%.
So what do you guys discuss on the Dolly Parton podcast? I'm assuming it's not a full-blown sports podcast, but you run into some sports topics here and there. I mean, I know you told me it's anything, but like throw me some examples of a couple episodes that people might want to check out.
We're still trying to find our lane and whatnot. We just kind of done some random stuff. Like we have a dating episode, which did really well. Last week we went over our tween years and how different that was for all of us. Before that, we just talked about, like, we went on vacation. We just talked about that. We do talk about the White Sox a little bit. But, yeah, we're still just trying to find our lane. And I think this Dollar Dog thing is kind of helping us get there,
That's awesome. I'm a big fan of the show. I actually haven't gotten to listen to every episode yet, but I listened to the most recent one, and I want to go back and kind of check them all out because it kind of sounds, correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of sounds, is there 4 guys?
There's 4 of us, yes.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it's just 4 guys sitting around a microphone. They turn them on, and you guys talk about whatever bullshit you want for however long. Is that
that's how it has been lately. But we're trying to get a little more structure in now.
All right. So for the people who are going to check it out, do you want to describe to them the characters that are on your show that you got there?
Okay. We got me. I'm kind of like the chill one, I guess. I don't know. And then we got Joey. Joey's kind of sporadic. He's going to talk crap about a lot of people, but he's going to do it in a very funny way. Rob is going to embarrass himself the most. Rob is going to tell the most embarrassing stories and talk about a lot of porn stars for some reason. And him and Glenn are going to like... Glenn's kind of like Rob in the same way with just embarrassing himself a lot. And yeah, I don't know. I can't really like describe us that well, I guess. You just have to find out yourself.
When they talk about porn stars, is this stuff they do on air, or is it kind of like off the cuff a little bit when the cameras aren't rolling?
No, they like mention they just like say some random names on air sometimes, and it's like, oh, I know her, and then me and Joey are like, who the hell are you guys even talking about?
Okay. That's interesting. I'm telling you guys got to all check out this podcast. It's literally like, on the Barroom Network, there are a couple different podcasts. They all have like a theme or a niche that they fit under. Like this one is specifically Major League Baseball, but I like to have people on who can bring baseball and like kind of put it forward. And it sounds like the Dolly Parton podcast is doing that, talking about things other than baseball, but kind of getting in the spotlight because of it. I'm wondering, are there other podcasts out there that you listen to? Like, are you a podcast person? Do you listen to them in your free time besides recording your own? Like, do you have like a top 5?
I don't have like a top 5, I would say. I do listen to a few podcasts, like This Is Important from the Workaholics dudes. I love those guys. Macro Dosing and Part of My Take. Those are kind of like the only 3 I listen to. I'm not really huge into listening to podcasts, but I'm trying to get into podcasts. I'm trying to support people who support me, you know.
Very good. I mean, the podcast networking, it's very interesting because you can turn on a microphone and talk about whatever you want. And there's really not much, obviously, don't say problematic stuff, but outside of that, you could pretty much like go out there and just do your thing. And I love seeing it help put people like you on a platform. And I was happy to see all the notoriety that you guys got at Guaranteed Rate Field for making that incredible sign.
I was shocked.
I mean, is there anything you want to say to the people who, watch, listen, came up to you? I saw you got some girls that came up to you and took some pictures with you in the sign.
Yeah.
It was definitely an interesting look. Like, what do you take away from that? Did you have anything to say to those people?
It was all surreal, honestly. Like, I took the picture in front of the field and I posted on Twitter. The next thing I know, he's like, "Oh, White Sox Dave retweeted you." I'm like, "Oh, what?" I was like, "How?" And then like we just blew up after that. I appreciate everybody that came up to me, everybody that sent me a photo, that took our photo, sent me our photo, the ones I had get a photo with. I appreciate it all. The fans, we deserve this. The fans deserve this. When we were walking around the stadium, I was pointing at the sign, pointing at other people, saying, "You deserve it, she deserves it, I deserve it. We all deserve it." And it's time the White Sox realize that.
Absolutely. I hope they really take this seriously and listen to the people. Do you know the White Sox Dave story with the $1 Hot Dog Wednesday?
No, I do not.
Okay, so I'll tell it to you in the audience really quick. There was a couple years ago where he made a video. He was there at the game with Carl. I want to say they were playing the New York Yankees, and the Yankees were just absolutely shit-canning the White Sox. It was that 2019 season where they kind of had, like, Moncada was coming up and Giolito, and they were looking all right, but they weren't winning as much, let's say. Yeah. And White Sox Dave did the 999 challenge. You have to eat one beer or drink one beer and eat one hot dog every single inning. And by the 7th or 8th inning, you're fat, you're drunk, everything sucks. But he persevered and did it, and it would not have been possible without $1 Hot Dog Wednesday, because buying 9 beers is expensive in its own right, but he only spent $9 on hot dogs.
Yeah.
So that's probably something to do with him retweeting you, and that guy wants $1 Hot Dog Wednesday. Would you consider doing the 999 challenge if they were?
Now that you said that, when they bring it back, because it will happen this year.
Okay.
When they bring it back, I will do the 999 challenge. That sounds amazing. I will do that.
Can I be there to video document it, and then we could combine it between our 2 shows?
Oh yeah, of course.
That sounds delightful, because I can't do it. I'm a little B word. I don't know if we could say that, but I'm definitely one of those, and I'm not crushing 9 hot dogs and 9 beers over the 3-hour span, but I'll definitely eat a couple and watch you guys do it. My other co-host on this show, who's normally on, Joey, he has done it before, but from home. So I'm curious to see if Mr. Brandon could do it after all this yapping about getting $1 Hot Dog Wednesday.
I have to do something when they bring it back. I have to do something.
That's exciting. Well, I'm very much looking forward to it. Tell people right now, before we let you go, how they can find you, find your podcast, and maybe if there's like something waiting in the wings that you're excited to share with the fans.
You can find our podcast at Dolly Parton Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and we're coming to YouTube shortly. That should be up in the next day or 2. And we also have a big guest coming on later this month, so get connected with the Dolly Parton Pod. Oh, wrong way. The Dolly Parton Pod. Yeah, you can find us anywhere you can get on podcasts, on Spotify, Apple. I don't know where else you can listen to us, but you can listen to us there probably. Anywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm very excited for people to kind of get to know this and check it out. I'm a big fan. So thank you very much for coming on our show. And
thank you for having me.
Keep doing the true fans' work. We all want those $1 hot dogs back. I want to put some mustard on it, no ketchup, because this is Chicago, even though I don't hate it as much as most people. But, got to get all the good stuff on the hot dog. So keep doing the people's work, Brandon.
I will, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. And everybody, make sure you're following Brandon, listening to Brandon, all his co-hosts on the show, making signs, doing all the good work. And go get a picture with him every Wednesday at Guaranteed Rate Field. And then tweet it at him.
Look for us June 8th. June 8th against the Dodgers. We will be there.
Awesome.
be there.
June 8th against the Dodgers. I'm sure that game's going to go really well for the White Sox.
will.
When they're inevitably getting crushed by the best team in the league, Los Angeles Dodgers. Hey, they just got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Really?
So, yeah.
All they need is that sign there to get them in the game. That's what they need.
Hey, if they win with you there, then I want you there with that sign every day, no matter if it's Wednesday or not. But like I said, everybody check out Brandon, and Brandon, thank you as always for coming on our show. We hope to have you back sometime soon.
Thank you again for having me. It was awesome.
Of course. And everybody, we're going to send you to a quick commercial break.
Zim, Joe, Vinnie, and Gonzo. Join these White Sox fanatics every Monday night for the South Burbs Hitmen. You're going to be treated to great guests, top analysis, smart debates. South Burbs Hitmen with Zim, Joe, Vinnie, and Gonzo. Only on the Barroom Network.
Come on, man. We're going to Baltimore. The Wire is the best show of all time. And I've never seen such riveting TV where I actually felt like I was in East and West Baltimore every single episode. And it was just absolutely riveting and captivating from season 1 all the way to season, to it finished up.
And I'd put True Detective up there. McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. I mean, come on. It was just so well shot, so well written, directed. Like, I feel like it's underrated as far as that list goes. Really good.
And we are very happy to have had Brandon Brogdon on our show talking about the White Sox, Dollar Hot Dog Wednesdays, all sorts of shenanigans going on at Guaranteed Rate Field and some of the stuff they talk about on their show. I listen to a couple different podcasts. Most of them are sports related. Like right now, my favorite podcast is probably either Starting Nine or Redline Radio, just because I'm a big fan of Barstool Carl. But I also listen to the Jared Carrabis podcast, which is a Red Sox podcast on DraftKings. And what's the big one? Oh, Spittin' Chicklets. Of course, I haven't missed Spittin' Chicklets in a very long time. So, I love sports and stuff, but every now and then I like a podcast where they sit around and talk about things that aren't related to sports. Like I listen to the Dog Walk every Monday when they draft stuff, and it's mostly non-sports related stuff. And the Dolly Parton podcast is really starting to fit into that mold of like just a podcast where they talk about whatever. And I like that stuff. So make sure you go follow them at Dolly Parton Pod on twitter.com. And you can find them on Instagram with the same exact handle. And then I actually don't have Brandon's handle accessible, but you can find his handle and the rest of his co-hosts in the bio of the Dolly Parton Pod Twitter page. So make sure you check them out. Man, the White Sox suck. They're bad. They're 23-25 after losing 2 straight to the Toronto Blue Jays after what was a really promising comeback win in special extra innings. I almost said special teams. I really got hockey on the brain, guys. Extra innings win over the Chicago Cubs on Sunday, but they came out, and the real strength of the Chicago White Sox team, like one thing that nobody really complains about at all, is the starting pitching. I mean, they've been running out Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease, and Michael Kopech as their top 3 all season long. Vince Velasquez had a couple pretty good starts, then a couple just complete dog shit starts. And then Dallas Keuchel I think he had 2 quality starts, and then the other 6 were like not just bad. They were like the game's over in the second inning type of bad. And, outside of those 2 or 3 rough starts for Velasquez and Keuchel, Cueto has come in, Johnny Cueto, Johnny Baseball, as he was once known. He's come in and settled things down a little bit. The Cubs tagged him a little bit for 3 runs, and then in the 7th inning, when he should have been pulled, because all metrics say that guys like Cueto should come out after the 6th inning, Tony La Russa was sleeping and let him stay in, and then the Cubs got him for 2 more in the 7th. But, Cueto's real good. He's on the mound tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays to wrap up the series. The problem is they're facing Alek Manoah, who's been one of the best pitchers in the American League, but he struggled against lefties, and we all saw that monstrosity of a lineup that Tony La Russa put out today, just trying to jam all the lefties in there, and even if it means putting your defensive-minded catcher as a designated hitter. Makes no sense, but we'll get to that in a minute. The White Sox need to be better. And Giolito gave up 6 to the Blue Jays. Kopech gave up 5. I said the starting pitching is typically their strength, especially those 3 at the top. Dylan Cease decided not to get boosted, so he wasn't welcomed in Canada. So he wasn't going to start in this series anyway. But with Kopech and Giolito, those are your 2 guys, along with Cease, but those are your 2 guys in the series that you expect to get great starting pitching from. And the Blue Jays lineup is just, it doesn't stop. I mean, Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I'm missing a big one. I'm missing a really big one. Teoscar Hernandez. I'm still missing a really big one. I'm blanking on. Kevin Biggio's injured, I think, or maybe he has been playing. I don't remember. It's just great player after great player in that lineup, and they come at you in waves. It's kind of like what the White Sox lineup should be with Anderson, Grandal, Moncada, Abreu, Jimenez, Anderson. I mean, I just named a bunch of guys who have had all-star level seasons in as recent as last year, and it's just not happening so far. So if the offense can ever get going to mask if the starting pitcher ever has a bad game, then I think this team will start winning some games. But as of right now, this isn't it. Tony La Russa has been arguably the worst manager in Major League Baseball so far this season. Last year, he was a top 10 vote getter for Coach of the Year in the American League. And this year he has taken a complete poop on the entire lineup every single day. Today is game 48, and you guessed it. There have been 48 different lineups every single day. I think to teams like the New York Yankees, who every single day, no matter what, unless it's just a weird injury or one of those random Sunday lineups, they run out every single day, no matter what. DJ LeMahieu, Anthony Rizzo, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Josh Donaldson. In that order, no matter what, there's lineup continuity, and there is a reason that those guys just keep winning. The White Sox refused to put the same lineup twice. In fact, A.J. Pollock hit a leadoff home run last night, and instead of having him bat leadoff again, Tony La Russa just decides to bench him. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Andrew Vaughn has been arguably the White Sox best hitter this season, not named Tim Anderson. And Tony La Russa says, you know what I'm going to do with Andrew Vaughn to maximize his potential? Bat him 7th. It just makes no sense. Reese McGuire is not known for hitting. He hits under 200, but he's well known for being a defensive-minded catcher. Reversely, Yasmani Grandal is not known for being a very good defensive catcher. He just kind of puts on the gear and goes out there. But he's been a fantastic hitter over the course of his career. So which guy do you think is catching today, and which guy do you think is DHing today? Yes, you guessed it. Yasmani Grandal is catching, and Reese McGuire is the designated hitter. It just makes no sense. I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that this team has no chance to win as long as Tony La Russa remains in the dugout. I mean, it is what it is at this point, guys. I want to root for the White Sox. I want to believe that they can do good, and I believe in their roster. They have talent at every single position except for second base, and their starting pitching is really good, and their bullpen has, notable names of guys who have been stars in the last 3 to 4 years. I'm talking Liam Hendricks, Kendall Graveman, Aaron Bummer. If Ruiz is your worst pitcher in the bullpen, then, something's got to give. But, part of the problem is the team just doesn't hit, and Leury Garcia and Josh Harrison have a combined OPS that is less than Danny Mendick's OPS, and he's known to be the worst hitter in the organization. So it's bad right now. There are lots of issues, but, Giolito's not giving up 6. Kopech's not giving up 5 every single week. This is going to end up being a very bad week. I don't think they're going to win today against the Toronto Blue Jays, which will complete the sweep for them. And then you got the Tampa Bay Rays, who have won the American League pennant within the last 2 years. And last year they were the American League's leader in wins. So it's not like those guys are a cakewalk just because they're in second place because the Yankees decided to go off this year. It's just not an easy week coming up. Oh, and then when you're done with the Tampa Bay Rays, you have the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, the Dodgers are right there with the Yankees. They're the National League version of the Yankees. If they do not make it to the World Series and win it, it will be considered an epic failure on their part, because of the fact that they brought in Freddie Freeman. Like, you know what the Dodgers needed after last year, winning 106 games? The 2020 National League MVP. It's just amazing how good the roster is, and the White Sox are going to have a rough go of it against them. Now, following that, the schedule lightens up a little bit, and the reason I'm going beyond next Thursday is because there will be no episode of Crosstown Crosstalk next Thursday. Unfortunately, I will be on vacation with, my family, and what's going on there is exciting. I don't really take off from this show too much, but, that's why I'm going into that part of the week. They will face off against the Texas Rangers, who are a team the White Sox should be able to beat, but the Rangers have been playing hot baseball lately. I wrote an article about avoiding Semien, and he hadn't hit a home run. And then guess what he did that night? He hit his first home run as a grand slam. And the Rangers have been doing really well lately, the baseball version of the Rangers and the hockey version of the Rangers. But you could catch that on Bar Down Talking Hockey every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Following the Texas Rangers series is the Detroit Tigers, who have been one of the biggest disappointments. You think the White Sox are a disappointment this season? You think the Mariners are a disappointment this season? Check out the 2022 Detroit Tigers. I mean, just bringing in guys like Javier Baez and Austin Meadows, I just can't see how they're bad. It makes no sense to me. A lot of the starting pitchers are on the injured list. Off the top of my head, I do know that Casey Mize and Spencer Turnbull are on the injured list. I believe Tyler Alexander is as well. Miguel Cabrera, he's not a good player anymore, even though he did get his 3,000th hit earlier this season. They're not better off because he's in the lineup by any means. So after a tough stretch against the Jays, Rays, and Dodgers here, the Texas Rangers and Detroit Tigers are a light up in the schedule. And if you can't beat those guys, then you're not a very good team as it is. So hopefully the White Sox are able to surprise a couple people. Maybe tonight's game against right now's game against the Blue Jays, the Los Angeles Dodgers coming up. Same thing with the Tampa Bay Rays. So that's the White Sox for you. Their update on them this week. And in order to catch all of my thoughts and opinions on the Chicago White Sox over the course of the next week or so while I'm away from podcasting, you can go to southsideshowdown.com where I'm covering, the whole team and what's going on with the team and who's doing this and who's doing that. The hot stove season is about to really pick up here as we get into the middle of June. I think by the time I'm back from vacation, we'll really start hearing some names being on the trade block and stuff. And, one of the teams who are going to be the most active on this trade market for the worse are the Chicago Cubs. They are, I think they're 8 games under 500 at this point, or maybe they're still 10. They're up there, and it's just not that great in terms of wins and losses. They are a very exciting team, and they have some players that if they trade them, they will get good assets for them. I'm talking Wilson Contreras. We'll see if they end up moving on from Patrick Wisdom or Frank Schwindel. I think a team would give up a lot for a Patrick Wisdom. I mean, if you're the White Sox right now and you can use somebody who can probably fill in at second base or maybe play some outfield, some designated hitter. I mean, don't talk to me about designated hitters when you got frickin' Reese McGuire taking, at bats as a DH. Patrick Wisdom would be a good fit in an American League club. And, we'll see what happens if they're able to move him to a team that's considered a contender or at least a bubble team. This Christopher Morel, Electric Factory. I don't know if the White Sox have a single player this year that has shown the emotion that this guy's shown in the last 5 or 6 games, or maybe even in the last 2 or 3 weeks. He led off his major league career by hitting a home run, and he hasn't looked back since. His, OPS is in the 800 range. He's been, a really, really good player so far. I'm not sure if it's sustainable. He was in like the high teens, early 20s, depending on what prospect list you looked at. It's not like he's their Brennan Davis or anything like that, but he's like a solid prospect that has come up and just lit the world on fire. And sometimes that happens. These guys, they get to the major leagues, the adrenaline's flowing, they're feeling good about themselves. You got a guy like Wilson Contreras hyping you up. I saw the GIF on Twitter this morning. It went in one of my articles this morning of Wilson Contreras telling him to take a deep breath before he sits in the box, and then he hits a walk-off sacrifice fly to take out a very, very good Milwaukee Brewers crew. And, you split the series with them, and you're feeling good about yourselves, and now you got the St. Louis Cardinals this weekend. It's 5 games with them. It's one of those weird lockout-induced doubleheaders with them. You're going to play them tonight, Friday, 2 games on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. That equals 5. And it's a big measuring stick for the Cubs because the Cardinals are going to want to come out to play. They have playoff aspirations and being in the mix for the wild card, because I don't think they can be better than the Brew Crew long-term for the division lead, the Cardinals. But, taking care of business against a much weaker Cubs team is going to be on top of their mind. But the Cubs playing as well as they have and as loose as they have in the last week or so. I mean, you took 2 from the Brew Crew, you took 1 from the White Sox. Each of those 2 teams should be in the playoffs. Whether they are remains to be seen. But, Cubs are feeling good about themselves these days. And then after the St. Louis Cardinals series, a team that I can't really think of beating are playing against the Cubs too often. I mean, I know this is one of those strange years where the National League Central Division is playing against the American League East Division. So the Yankees are coming to Wrigley Field for the first time in a long time. The Red Sox are coming to Wrigley Field for the first time in a long time. The Cubs are playing the Baltimore Orioles next week. I see the White Sox play against them all the time. That's not something that is abnormal for me to see, but the Cubs playing the Orioles is just interesting. And I'm going to get to the Orioles later in the show because they are becoming my Baltimore Orioles. They have been my third team all season long just because they're that team. Like every year, it's always White Sox number one, and then I cheer for the Red Sox on the side when they're not playing the White Sox. Although I might start cheering against them soon because they're right in that wild card mix with the White Sox, so rooting for the Red Sox might become unacceptable. But there's always a team that I consider fun by the end of May. If you have my attention by the end of May, then I think there's a good chance you'll have my attention for the rest of the season, and that is the Baltimore Orioles. So it'll be interesting to see them play against the Chicago Cubs. It is not an easy schedule for the Cubs, even though the record suggests that the Orioles aren't as good or right there with the Cubs in terms of underperforming teams this season. They've been hot lately. They're kind of like the Cubs in a way, except one team is still working its way down while the other is working its way up. The Orioles are where the Cubs want to be in like 2024, 2025. And they're just a fun ball club to watch right now. So it should be a fun series. I'm excited to watch these two teams play in that. One story that I just thought of while talking about the Cubs playing the Orioles is the Orioles went to Cincinnati where the Reds play, and they got their first win there in – I want to say it was, I can't remember, was it ever or in a very long time? And then you start to think about it and you're like, like, how does this happen? And then you remember like, oh, the National League doesn't play the American League very often. Like you rotate who you play. Not every team is the Sox playing the Cubs at all times. So it's going to be interesting to see how that moves along. In the chat we're seeing Gabe say hi, Vinny. Hello Gabe, how are you? Katie saying great Cubs win last night. Yeah. Morel, watch that. Not good. It depends on your point of view. Go Brew Crew. Yeah, Gabe, good show last night with the Bearstown show. I heard you had some drama. I'm Team Gabe. Okay, for those who follow the Barroom Network, you know about all the drama going on with the show hosts. I'm Team Gabe for life. Okay? You got a problem with Gabe, you got a problem with me. And, Gabe, you keep doing your shows, man. Don't let people walk all over you. You're a good dude. So we're all Gabe fans on this show. Yeah, back to the Orioles getting a win in Cincinnati. I love it. I love seeing it. And, hopefully they're able to keep it going. Maybe it's not the Orioles I'm thinking of. Now I'm kind of like backtracking a little bit live here on the air. Maybe it was the Red Sox getting their first win in Cincinnati in X amount of years. That actually is probably sounding a little bit better in my brain. But if anybody in the chat wants to correct me or confirm for me on that, I'm all ears. There's been drama in Major League Baseball over the last week or so, guys. There are a couple guys slapping each other and fighting. The Fantasy Football League, commissioned by Mr. Mike Trout, who, if you're watching this show, it might be your first time watching it. It might be your 50th time watching it. I am of the opinion that Mike Trout is the greatest baseball player who ever lived. All the statistics suggest it. He plays a premier defensive position known as center field. It's probably a top 3 most important position besides pitcher on the entire roster. And teams give up offense for good defense in center field. And Mike Trout is just super elite at both. That's why the White Sox love Luis Robert so much, because he's an elite hitter and an elite defensive center fielder. Mike Trout, though, elite baseball player, all-time great baseball player. Apparently he's an all-time bad fantasy football GM. I'm a fantasy football GM, and I think I'm quite good at it. I'm also a fantasy hockey GM, and I'm also a fantasy baseball GM. I know how to run me a league. Mike Trout, you got to keep your guys in line, my dude. You got guys taking their hits on each other on the Major League Baseball field, slapping each other, and then a group chat going wrong. That's hilarious. Jock Peterson versus Tommy Pham. This is hilarious stuff, guys. And if you're watching this and you play fantasy football, you know. Don't mess with me and my fantasy football team. No, that shit don't fly. Okay? You talk shit to me about fantasy football, I'm going to give it right back to you. And if I'm in the lines of a Major League Baseball game where slapping the shit out of you won't get me arrested, you're Jock Peterson, you're Tommy Pham, you're like, well, let's get it on. So I need this next draft of theirs to be streamed live. I mean, I'm so into this fantasy league. I might be more into Mike Trout's fantasy football league than my own fantasy football league. Like, I want to know who he has on his roster so that on Sundays I could turn on Red Zone and cheer for his guys. Okay, because I know what it's like to be a commissioner. I know no commissioners like. He also took a side swipe at Rob Manfred when talking about commissioners, saying most people don't like most commissioners. That was hilarious. You know, I found that to be really, really funny. And, you know, fantasy football, it's coming soon. It's already June 2nd. It's still not perfect weather outside. We're still waiting for it to get like hot on a consistent basis. But then that'll go quickly. And then one day in late August, early September, you'll wake up and you'll feel like a crispness in the air for the first time in a long time. And you're going to be like, oh, football's coming up. Playoff baseball's coming up. The NHL's coming right back. It's good times. So that was my other major league story that I wanted to cover so far this year. I also want to give a shout out to friend of the program, Robert Murray. He broke yesterday, of Fansided, of course. He broke the news that the New York Met or the San Diego Padres were going to release Robinson Cano after having just an abysmal 11 games with them. And then less than a day later, earlier this morning, he announced that former White Sox Nomar Mazara was going to be taking his spot on the roster. So shout out Robert Murray for getting some notable attention, for breaking two relatively notable stories about a team that's in contention for the National League this year in the San Diego Padres, and putting a good name on our Fansided brand. You know, we got good people working there, and Robert Murray does great stuff. So make sure you follow him at by Robert Murray. It's always interesting when you talk about baseball in the early June. It's never easy because it's hard to decide who's good and who's not, but we're going to keep chugging along. And I appreciate each and every person who watched this show and was in the chat. I appreciate Brandon Brognan for coming on our show and talking about the Wednesday hot dog sign and talking about his podcast and stuff like that. It's always outstanding. So thank you to him, everyone in the chat, Gabe, Caitlin specifically, for your comments making it onto the YouTube screen today. And make sure you're following along with the Barroom Network at barroomnetwork.com or at Barroom Network on Twitter. Yesterday on Bar Down Talking Hockey, me and Frankie Mueller had some very interesting debates about what's going on in the National Hockey League world. I tried to tell Frankie that the New York Rangers were going to give the Lightning hell this series, and they took a 1-game-to-none lead in the series at Madison Square Garden last night. Listen, I'm not saying the Lightning can't win this series. I actually probably still would keep my money on the Lightning, but man, the Rangers are good, and it's going to be a long series. I got both going 7, so we'll see what happens there. I appreciate everybody who watches, tunes in. I'm not going to be partaking in Barroom Network streaming next week. I will be on vacation, so make sure you check out the South Burbs Hitmen, who the show will go on without me on Monday night. And Bar Down and Crosstown Crosstalk are going to take a week break, and we will be back the following week. The week of the Bar Down will be back on 5/15, and Crosstown Crosstalk will be back on 5/16. There are some big moments coming up with these shows over the next couple weeks. Crosstown Crosstalk got a couple nice guests coming up that I'm hoping to have on. I have one guest in particular for Bar Down that I'm so excited about, but I'm not able to disclose who that is yet, but the people will know soon enough. I literally think 5 people on planet Earth know that this guy's going to be on our show. It would be me, Joey, Frankie, and then our great director at the Barroom Network, Aldo, are the only people that know that this is a thing. So hope everybody's excited about that. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. So while we're gone, make sure you're enjoying hockey and baseball, and we'll be back the following week. I can't say it enough. Thank you to everybody who tunes into our shows. And as always, let's go Sox.